That is a great question. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, the question the brother have, and it is a good question. How is it after all this time, time went by, how can we say definitively that we're the children of Israel, that we're not from Ham but from Shem? How do we know who we are according to the Bible? The first thing is we have to work our way backwards. This is how you do it. This is how I usually do it. You work your way backwards. You don't start with the people who the prophecies are talking about. You start with the people who are claiming to be Jews first. Alright? Because I can say this. It seems like we held to a higher standard of when it comes to burden of proof concerning who the people of the Bible are than the people who are claiming to be Jews. Why no one ever brought their claims into question?
Word up, bro.
No one have ever, because it's so far-fetched for us to even believe this. It's so far away from us that we have to prove this. But what I do is, I say, listen, let's not go with us right now. Let's just start with them. Because the reason we are trying to figure out who we are is because someone else have state claim to being the children of Israel. So this is what we do. Let's go to Romans, the 9th chapter. Let's go to Romans 9. This is how you do it. Now, if you do this, if you go in line the way I'm doing this, you'll be fine. Romans 9, right? Now, of course, we don't have to go into who the chosen people of the Most High is according to the Bible, even if without identifying. We know that according to the Bible, the children of Israel are the people who are chosen according to the Bible. Christ was Israelite, Moses, Jeremiah. This was an Israelite book. So we don't have to show or prove that God gave the law to these particular people. It's in the Bible. Now, we're just trying to state claim to who was these prophecies speaking about. Let's first start with the Jewish people. Let's not even deal with us right now. Let's just deal with the Jewish people for a second. Let's go to Romans 9 and let's see what Paul have to say. I love going into the New Testament too. Read.
Romans chapter 9 verse 1. I say the truth in Christ, I lie not. My conscience also bearing me witness in the Holy Spirit, that I have great heaviness and continual sorrow in my heart. For I could wish that myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen according to the flesh, who are Israelites.
Now it says who are who?
Who are Israelites.
To whom? Go ahead.
To whom pertaineth the adoption.
So when you see pertains means belong to. If this pertains to you, I can't stake claim to it unless you're willing to offer that to me. You understand? So these are the things that pertains to the Israelites according to Paul. The adoption was Christ dying on the cross. Because through Christ's death, we had a chance to come back to the Father. We needed to get adopted back because the Israelites were rejected under the old covenant. So we needed an adoption. Read.
To whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory.
So this is what belonged to Israelites. The adoption, the glory. But you're going to find out once we're at the end of this lesson, the true Israelites get no glory in this world. But that's really what belongs to them, the glory. Read.
And the covenants.
The covenants. Why does it say covenants with an S? Because some people like to think that the people of the old covenant didn't get a new covenant. So what pertains to them, the Old Testament and the New Testament belongs to them. That's what covenant is. It's an agreement. That's what a testament is. Read.
And the giving of the law.
We know the Most High only gave the law to one people in this earth. So we know what belongs to the Israelites. It's telling you in the New Testament. So Christ didn't come to give what pertains to the Israelites to someone else. He allowed the other nations to partake if they're willing to deal with the truth of who it belongs to. You see that? You can't say, well, I'm down with Christ and God, but you're going to reject the people of God to whom He gave everything you're learning. Doesn't make any sense. Right? Read.
And the service of the Most High.
That means Israelites were supposed to be put in service to actually deliver the word of the Most High. To set up apostles, to set up teachers, to set up disciples. These were the Israelites' jobs. There was no pagan Roman set up in the church to do this during Paul's time. Read.
And the promises.
And the promises. So all the promises that was given to Abraham, down to Isaac and Jacob, we're reading about these things being given to Israelites. Read.
Verse 5. Whose are the fathers?
Whose are what?
Whose are the fathers?
So Paul is saying these things belong to our fathers. Read.
And of whom as concerning the flesh Christ came.
Paul had to make that clear because some people would like to just concentrate on the spirit. When there's no spirit in this earth living without a body. Okay? So he says, so y'all can't use the spirit to who according to the flesh Christ came. Because the body is the flesh. And the spirit cannot live unless it had a body. And seeing you got these Christians teaching this spiritual Israelite garbage that's nowhere in the Bible. There's no such thing as a spiritual Israelite. No, it's no different than there's no such thing as a spiritual Hamite. There's no such thing as a spiritual Edomite. There's no such thing as a spirit Japhite or a spiritual Hamite. You can't take somebody's national identity and turn it into a spiritual welcoming of everybody and say that they have changed their race according to the spirit. Doesn't make any sense. If that's the case, it wouldn't show Christ's family lineage in Matthew the 1st chapter. If it didn't matter who you came according to the flesh. That means if what the church is teaching is correct, that means Christ have no idea who He's going to give the promises to. It's everybody. So what happened to the promise that the Most High made to Abraham's seed? So that don't even matter anymore. To his physical children that would follow. But they teach you that it doesn't matter, or Israelites doesn't matter, because under their society, the true Israelites don't matter. They don't matter. That's why they teach you in church, well, it doesn't matter anymore. Why? Because if you're not staking claim to it, who cares? Y'all think y'all Africans. Y'all think y'all Jamaicans. It doesn't matter. Right? Read.
Whose are the fathers, and of whom, as concerning the flesh, Christ came, who is over all, the Most High blessed forever. Amen. Not as though the word of the Most High have taken none effect, for they are not all Israel which are of Israel.
Say that again.
For they are not all Israel which are of Israel.
So Paul is saying there's some people who are going to be staking claim to this who don't belong in these promises. You understand? So he's telling us, listen, we need to watch out here. Neither because they tell you, not as though the word of the Most High have taken none effect, for they are not all Israel which are of Israel. So there's some people that don't belong in this. Right? Now listen to this.
Neither because they are of the seed of Abraham.
So some people would like to stake claim to the promises because they came out of the seed. Like Ishmael. No, the Most High still gave the promise to Isaac. Like Esau. No, you was born first, but you sold your birthright. It belongs to Jacob. So now you can't say, well, I'm a child of Abraham, therefore I'm going to get it by default. So when the true children of Israel fell, they felt it was their right to bring forth the two religions that came from Abraham through the people who they feel should have received the promise over the children of Israel. Christianity under Edomites and Islam under Ishmaelites. Because they believed it belonged to them in the beginning and we had no right to it. So y'all have to know the mindset of these religions and why certain people control them. It's about race. So they felt it doesn't matter. They feel it doesn't matter now because they feel it's been put back in order. That the Most High did something wrong. They felt that if they were born first, then they should have received it. How can Jacob now get the promise? And we came out of Abraham first. So they set up religions that would promote their race.
Yep.
And let me tell you, stuff like this you would never learn in mainstream Christianity to find the psychological understanding of religious institutions. It's about racial control of the earth.
Yep.
And when you read the Bible, these were the wars that were breaking out all in the Old Testament. It was about the Most High not wanting his people to fall under these other people and to follow their gods, while the other people were trying to take down Israel and get their power so that we can pray and empower their gods. That's what it was all about in the Old Testament. Yeah. And that never changed. That never changed. If we can get these holy and spiritual people to pray, how much they will empower us in our gods. If we can get these people to believe what we believe. So my first thing is when we teach is say, listen, walk away from all your gods. You cannot hurt them more than first walking away from the religions that have ensnared you. That's how you hurt them more than anything. Because the more we draw from them, we taking their life source. We've been the only spiritual people that have been upholding their world. We've been upholding their God. So we're taking their spiritual source away, and the Most High got the whole earth crumbling. He got their powers crumbling because now we're waking up. Like, no,
That's right.
their empires are crumbling. We are the prayers that been up sustaining this. So you notice when they go out to convert people, they point their conversion to us. Because who's more fervent in prayer than we are?
Yeah, true.
So when we get under a God, we follow it better than the people who taught us. So they needed us to empower their gods. Okay? You don't see no missionaries where Christians are trying to go to Asia and convert Chinese people. They're aiming everything towards Africa in the ghetto and the poor neighborhoods. Right? Read on.
Neither, because they are the seed of Abraham, are they the children. Are they all children?
Read.
But in Isaac shall thy seed be called.
Paul told them that, and guess what? This was after Christ was crucified. So Christ did not change anything. What he did was he set everything back in order. He didn't change anything. When it comes to the promises, he wasn't going to undo his father's promises and say, well, it doesn't matter who God's people are anymore, and I'm going to give it to everybody. No. Paul says, listen, I will give it to you, but you're going to have to respect the people who's giving it to you. That's fair. Right? Read on.
Verse 8. That is, they which are the children of the flesh.
Who came after the flesh? Ishmael. That was Sarah's idea. To give her bindmaid to Abraham. Abraham wasn't thinking about that. So that child was made out of the flesh. It was made out of her idea of Abraham's line going forward. Not the Most High's. So that's a child of the flesh. Read.
That is, they which are the children of the flesh. These are not the children of the Most High.
Man, they won't read this in the churches. They will not read this in the church because this changes their whole philosophy. So these other people are not really the children of the Most High. They get in simply by faith and believe in the truth. Of not only that, in accepting the truth, they must accept who the children of Israel are. You can't be a Gentile and think you're going to jump right over God's people and get the promises without acknowledging his people. Because they couldn't do this during Paul's time. You couldn't jump over Peter and say, well, the promise is for me. So you can't do that now. So these Kenneth Copelands and all these Benny Hinn's and all these other people, like, who are y'all? How y'all going to jump over God's people and now be the spiritual authority in the earth? Who's this Pope? You understand? They got this pedophile running around. This dude was known for straight sex with boys. Straight pedophile. Talking about the Pope. Then you had St. John Paul. I can't even call him a saint. Karl Gitler of Krakow, Poland. They used to throw bloody rags at him. He was a homosexual big time, raping kids. They made him Pope. And yet, when we say, well, listen, if y'all can acknowledge these pedophiles, why can't you acknowledge God's people who are suffering in this earth because who they are? I'm going to show you, but let's focus on these Jewish people for a second. Read.
But the children of the promise are counted for the seed.
The children of the promise are counted for the seed. Read.
For this is the word of promise. At this time will I come, and Sarah shall have a son. And not only this, but when Rebekah also conceived by one, even by our father Isaac. For the children being not yet born, neither having done any good or evil.
Why did Paul say the children being not yet born haven't done any good or evil? He's saying that so people can't say it's anything they did to receive the promises. He said, listen, the promise was made before the children were born. So you can't say, well, Jacob tricked Esau and Esau should have had it first. And this was before the children was born. Rebekah was told what? Read it.
For the children being not yet born, neither having done any good or evil, that the purpose of the Most High, according to election, might stand.
The Most High elected a child to rule and receive his promises before they were born. So Esau can't use, well, Jacob tricked me. Listen, before you was born, the Most High knew Jacob was going to trick you. The Most High put it in his spirit to trick you. That's why he called him Ya'iqua, which means supplanter. He put it in the spirit for the mother to put hair on him and pose as Esau. Why? Because he told the mother before the children was born that first child was not going to be the one. Separate them from the beginning and focus on that second child. So Esau can't get upset because before they was born, it was settled. Read.
Not of works.
It ain't of what they did. Read.
But of him that calleth.
It's the Most High that made the choice. Read.
It was said unto her,
It was said unto her.
the elder shall serve the younger.
It was said to her before the children was born that Jacob was that child. And when you read the stories on Jacob and Esau, you got to see the stories of them growing up. Even Ishmael and Isaac, you got to see the stories of them growing up. They had to battle their big brother. You had Ishmael who was looking to kill Isaac the whole time. That's why Sarah was like, listen, you got to get these people out of my house. This kid is out of his mind. He's going to kill my boy. Okay, so people look at it like, how unjust that is to put her out. No. If he would have kept her there, the promises had to be fulfilled. She had to protect that promised seed. Read.
Verse 13. As it is written.
As it is written.
Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated.
The Bible says, Jacob have I loved and Esau have I hated. Now it says this because the spirit that Esau was dealing with was against the Most High. He didn't acknowledge and respect the promises of the Most High. And for one morsel of meat, he sold his birthright. He would sell himself out for money. And any Edomite that operates in the spirit of Esau, this is how the Most High feels about them. But any Edomite that would follow the truth of the Most High will not fall under the spirit of Esau, if they stand by faith and follow the truth according to Romans the 11th chapter, and not boast against the natural branches. Esau's doctrine and his philosophy and his political agenda is to boast against us. Use us for our prayers, use us for our physical prowess, use us for their entertainment, and then then put us away like waste. Because that's all we're good for. You understand? That's the spirit of Esau, the hunter. But if they are in the spirit of Christ and they come out of that spirit, then they're not hated. Because the Most High tell you about that in Romans 11 chapter. If they don't show pride, if they don't come against us, they don't boast against us, and they stand by faith and teach the truth like Cornelius did, then they are accepted. Read.
Verse 14. What shall we say then?
Now what shall we say then? Because we know that some people will be upset that the Most High loved one child and he hated the other. Because you're not taught about this guy. When I first read this in Romans, I'm like, man, I didn't know that was in the Bible. That the Most High can hate? That was a weird phenomenon to me when I first read this. I was listening, God is all love. Right? Read.
What shall we say? Is there unrighteousness with the Most High?
Is the Most High unrighteous because he chose one? Read.
God forbid.
No. Read.
For he saith to Moses, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy.
How can you tell the Most High who to have mercy on? And see, that's why a lot of people want to become atheists too. Because they think God is unfair. Who is you? You don't know what the plan is. Like I said earlier in class, we should try to look at following his plan instead of hoping that he, dwindle himself to our little minds. To make us feel comfortable. Okay, I can believe in him now. Or the Most High feel good because you believe in him now. If you don't believe in him, that's fine. You'll die. He don't have to compromise with you. I don't understand what's wrong with these people. I don't have enough proof. You about to see enough proof in 1 minute. Okay? If you got the earth shaking, potholes going on, floods all over the place, FEMA, people jumping out of helicopters, stuff blowing up, Afghanistan in war, Pakistan in war, everything the scriptures say, and you say, well, I need to see a little more, Okay, that's fine. You about to see it. You gonna see it. Don't worry about it. You sit right there. As if the Most High is gonna sit back and say, you know what, Michael, Uriel, Raphael, stop for a second. George is having a problem believing it. We're going to stop everything until George see what's going on. Right? Read.
I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. So then, it is not of him that willeth, nor of him that runneth, but of the Most High that showeth mercy. For the scripture saith unto Pharaoh, even for this same purpose have I raised thee up, that I might show my power in thee.
So the Most High is showing that he raised up these Ishmaelites. He raised up Esau at the very end. For the same reason he raised up Pharaoh. He allowed them to get nice and powerful so he can crush them at the very end so everyone will know who's the real child of the Most High is. Let's see if the God of the Arabs saved them from the wars over there. Let's see if the gods of Christianity saved this Western world. So he raised them up with pride, glory, riches, and power, just so he can crush them. So that at the end of the day, the meek and the people who've been suffering, the people who had nothing would know that the Most High was with them the whole time. See, the Most High is down with the meek and the lowly and the humble and those that have nothing. They teach you in reverse that if you got more in this world, then you're blessed. The Most High is not with you if you have more in this world. Read.
For the scripture saith unto Pharaoh, even for this same purpose have I raised thee up, that I might show my power in thee.
Go ahead.
And that my name might be declared throughout all the earth.
Because who's going to declare the Most High's name but the people he revealed it to at the mount? Here it is, we've been in captivity for how long and we still didn't know the Most High's name. But God's people will proclaim the true name after the gods of this world fall. They must fall first. Read.
Verse 18. Therefore hath he mercy on whom he will have mercy, and whom he will, in whom he will,
He hardened it.
in whom he will, he hardeneth.
The same way he hardened Pharaoh. He hardened Pharaoh. Listen, he could have just let Pharaoh say, let his people go, but he wanted to show how much power he had. No, let Pharaoh do a little more, because I want to turn this water to blood tomorrow. I'm going to show people that their magicians cannot deal with this God. Okay? Say, listen, oh, y'all want to let my people go? Okay. I got something for you. Because once the Most High do what he's about to do on this earth, the story of ancient Egypt is going to be, you're not even going to speak of it in the kingdom. What he's going to do to deliver us out of this next thing, it's going to just make Egypt look like child's play. So he's hardening their hearts. He got them proud because of their technology. Oh, I got the HARP system. I got satellites that can see anything. I can control the earth. I control the monetary. You know what I mean? I control when people live. I can control when they die. He make people feel that they're hardened and that they are God. But the Most High is going to crush them. Read.
Verse 19. Thou would say then unto me, why doeth he yet find a fault? For who have resisted his will? Nay, but, O man, who art thou that repliest against the Most High?
So now he's coming back to man. You think, because some people think it's unfair that the Most High made from the beginning a people that he would choose and a people that he wouldn't choose. Some people in this earth think it's unfair.
That's the true origin of racism, really, isn't it?
Yes, that's the true origin of racism, brother. That's why we're being attacked and don't know why. They have the history of when the Most High sent us out to war against them in the past. And it's written in their history. When they was dealing with those other guys and doing all types of evil, the Most High would use us as his battle axe and weapons of war to straighten out any land. And they couldn't fight against us. So we don't understand why we have all this racism against us. Our fathers did a lot of destroying for the Most High. We forgot our history. They did not forget our history. And through the secret societies, they have laid the histories down to their children to remind them, listen, this is your battle. If these people ever rise again, they will do what they did to our forefathers. So we have to set a system that keeps them in control. We have to keep them from rising. We have to keep them from ever understanding what their capability is. We must keep them from their God. So we think it's racism when it's an agenda for self-existence and self-preservation. Y'all about to roll?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna call me up later, alright?
Yeah.
Alright. It's about self-preservation.
Yeah.
Shalom. Don't riot. Call me.
Don't do that one.
Alright? Oh, we're gonna be there next week anyway, right?
Yeah. I'm gonna throw out.
Alright. Okay.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Alright?
Thank you.
Shalom.
Alright, finish reading.
Romans chapter 9,
Take it from the verse you left off at.
verse 20. Nay, but, O man, who art thou that repliest against the Most High?
Man, how can man reply against the Most High? Well, I think that's unfair. Why would the Most High make a world where he would choose one person over another? They don't understand the only reason there's nations in the earth is because of the curse of Adam and Eve. The Most High meant for it to be one chosen race from the beginning. It was sin that came into the earth that broke the races so that there could be enmity against the woman's seed.
That makes sense.
It was meant to be one righteous race under the Most High, under Adam and Eve, from the beginning. So if you don't understand that, you'll think that something is wrong with the Most High. He created nations to fight against the chosen seed because of the sin. The same that we can't argue that when we now till the ground, it comes up thistles and thorns, like the Most High say. When you gotta, now you're gonna be pricked when you go pick a rose. You're gonna have to dig the ground. That's a curse. So the nations was created to fight against the chosen seed due to the original sin. That's why races was created. It was meant to be one chosen race out of Adam and Eve from the beginning. And when people don't understand that, they think that, well, the Most High is not... Listen, you better thank the Most High that something did happen. Because at first it was just going to be one race. Okay? And at the end of it, there's going to be one race. It's going to be what the Most High intended from the beginning. Now, of course, there's going to be a variety because Israel is mixed with all the people. That's why it says a multitude which no man can number out of every nation and kindred and tongue. Of course, they're going to be an example of every race, be it white, Chinese. They're going to look just like the other nations.
Speckled bird.
They're going to look just like the other nations in the earth. All the representations of all the races that were created. But they're going to all be from the same seed of Israel. Read.
Verse 20. Nay, but, O man, who art thou that repliest against the Most High?
How can you go against the Most High?
Shall the thing formed say to him that formed it, why hast thou made me thus?
How can the pot have an attitude against the potter? I'll tell her to keep it down, please. Think about this. How can what was created have an attitude or speak against the creator? Which means, if you take clay and you shape yourself a cup, can the cup now look at you and say, well, hold up, I don't agree that you made me a cup. You should have made me, I want it to be a vase. So how can man reply against its creator? And that's what man do now. Well, you know, I still need some more proof. Whether or not listen, your existence is proof. You came from the invisible, like I've mentioned earlier. You came from the invisible. Seems like we got to prove things to you that's evident. Well, I didn't see God, like I mentioned earlier. No one ever seen gravity, but you're not going to get on the top of a building and walk off of it. You understand? Who see gravity? Okay? Who see oxygen, the air you breathe? You don't see it, but it's there. So the Most High is more real than gravity. He's more real than air. Read.
Romans chapter 9, verse 21.
Let me get to it. Go ahead.
Have not the potter power over the clay?
Let's get to the question. Jewish people. Revelations, St. John 8 and 44. Revelations 2:9 and Revelations 3 and 9. You do these first. St. John 8 and 44. St. John 8 and 44. Revelations 2 and 9 and Revelations 3 and 9. Right?
St. John chapter 8.
Read.
St. John chapter 8, verse 44. Ye are of your father, the devil.
Ye are of your father. Now this is what Christ is identifying here, right? Read.
Ye are of your father, the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning.
He was a what?
He was a murderer from the beginning.
He was a murderer from the beginning. Now the first murder came from who? Cain. What was Cain known for? Killing his brother, which was the brother of the promise. Now think about this. He had jealousy and envy against his brother. Right? And he was upset because the Most High accepted him when he didn't come right. And instead of him doing the right things, he took it out on his own brother. Sounds familiar?
Yeah.
Yes.
Jacob, Esau, Isaac.
Yes.
Exactly.
So Esau eventually went into the same spirit of Cain when jealousy and envy came up again in him when the blessings was given to Jacob, and he found that he lost his birthright and his blessing. So the spirit of Cain entered him, and he says, I'm going to seek to destroy my brother when my father died.
I read in the book of Yasha that also it wasn't that just that the offering, you know, with Jacob and Esau. It was Esau didn't want to learn the ways of the Most High. Also,
He wanted
So he
to
didn't want humble.
circumvent.
Yeah, so that's what displeased the
Yes.
Most High as well. Because at some stages it can be said, well, it's a bit unfair.
Yeah. Yeah.
For people who don't know the word of the Most High, it's two brothers, one's the older, one's the younger. It does seem a bit unfair, but then when you check it out, and these other books are there for guidance as well.
Yeah.
You know, and mainstream church, I was baptized in mainstream church. This is all you need. This is all you need, and don't you should gain that knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only.
But it gives you more, like you said, when you read the story, it gave you a deeper understanding, a rational understanding, and let you know that the Most High is fairer than what, He's more fair than what the churches are portraying.
Yeah.
Because Esau thought that he was just going to get it just by being the firstborn without working for it too. It tell you that in Jasher. He didn't really care to serve the Most High righteously, just like Cain. And so when Christ sat there before those Pharisees, he says, you know what? You're your father the devil. See, a lot of these Pharisees were actually Jewish, or what you would call Idumean converts. They were people, you have to realize, during the time, exactly, during the time of Antiochus Epiphanes and after that, when they took over the temple, they killed all the priests in Jerusalem and left only 2 Israelites.
Just to teach.
And set Esau, Idumeans, over the temple. So at the time that Christ was on the earth, the majority of the Pharisees were Edomites.
There you go. You see?
They were Edomites. So this was even before the Khazarian Empire, when Antiochus Epiphanes, you can read this in the Josephus, destroyed the temple and put Gentiles over the temple, and only left 2 Israelites who would teach them the ways of the temple.
So this would explain why they were so offended at Yeshua then. 'Cause they were like,
Yeah,
It makes more sense.
that's why they got upset. Listen,
Filling all the
Listen.
scriptures, but this ain't the
Listen.
kind of guy we're looking for.
exactly. Listen, don't forget. They didn't look to destroy Christ till after he came in the temple and started beating them out of the temple, exchanging in the temple.
Exactly.
These are Jewish people
Yeah, money changes.
getting paid in the temple and setting their system, their monetary taxation system, over the Most High's people.
Right.
Same set.
Yeah. So
Today.
So if you look at them today, they're behind the finances and using that to control the people. They were the bank. So they made the temple the bank over Israel. And Christ came in there and beat them. He says, you're going to make my house a den of thieves?
Well, it should be a house of prayer.
Yeah. When our house should be a house of prayer, they infiltrated the temple.
I never understood that. I understand that.
Yes.
Right.
So even before the Khazarian Empire, you had Yeshua speaking to the Edomites who infiltrated. Herod was the first Gentile to be governor over the children of Israel. He was an Edomite. So now,
And he was trying to take
yeah,
out Yeshua, wasn't he?
exactly. It's just like, for instance, just say if you are in Rome, and all of a sudden in Rome, which was primarily Caucasian, you get a black president. That's the example of Jerusalem never had any other people ruling them during that time until the Herod family, Antipas and Herod came on the scene. That was the first Edomites placed as governors over Jerusalem. That was the beginning of our fall, because now our brother who was against us have now infiltrated us. Now Christ is sitting here in St. John 8:44 saying, you know what? And he's identifying them. You are of your father the devil.
Oh boy.
We know who you are. We know that the serpent is going to use you to destroy our people. Read.
He was a murderer from the beginning.
The spirit in you is in the spirit of Cain. Read. So he says, I know you're going to try to kill me. See, but they couldn't do it right out. They had to whip our people in a frenzy so that our people would go against Christ. And that was the game that eventually put them up for going against Moses' law. So they was behind closed doors just whispering to our people, look at him, he's a magician. Look, and just taking accounts so that our people would go against us because they couldn't do it. Read.
He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth.
So everything they give you is a lie. Their education is a lie. Their religions are a lie. Read.
Because there is no truth in him.
So how can these people be over institutions when they are the father of lies?
So it was like I've lost the verse.
St. John 8, you down at what?
44.
44.
Thank you.
Read.
When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own.
When he says, when you speak of a lie, you speak of your own. So when they say they're Jews, they're lying. When they say the Israelites, they're lying. Read.
For he is a liar, and the father of it.
They are the father of lies. I'm talking about the powers that control this earth. So Christ is identifying them now. Now, let's go to Revelations 2 and 9. Let's go to, before 2 and 9, let's go to Revelations 2. Let's go to Revelations 2. Let's start at the, listen to this clearly now. Now here's Christ. He separated John on the Isle of Patmos because he needed to show John the end time prophecies. The same as when Christ, he was showed certain things those 40 days and 40 nights and had to be separated before his ministry. What the Most High do when things need to be revealed, he separate the prophets, teaches disciples to give them key information for a future generation. So the Romans could not do anything with John. They didn't want to kill him and make him a martyr because they was afraid that the people might go against him. Then they couldn't throw him in jail because every jail they threw him in, he would convert the whole jail and they would be mutant.
Yes, John.
That's how powerful John was.
Yes, John.
So they said if we murder him, he's a martyr. If we put him in jail, we got an army against us. He's going to convert all these pagans and they're going to start following the Hebrews in Christ. And if we kill him, the people will come against us. So let's put him on an island. He can't do us any harm there. And we can't get cursed for killing a good man. So it was a win-win situation, but the Most High wanted him there because he found out that he was there not to be exiled, but to be connected with the Most High without man's interference. And the Most High showed him, then Yeshua showed him that the spirit that's in the 7 churches is the spirit that's going to go throughout the whole earth. And every church that's in Christ is going to have attributes of each of these 7 spirits. And these are the 7 churches that are in the spirit of Christ that Christ will deliver. So each of these 7 churches are candlesticks, which are lights to the world. So it's not a physical location, it's a spirit. And all the do's and don'ts in each of the 7 churches are the warning to Christ's church all around the earth. It's the warning and it's the accommodation, or it commends the church that are actually doing the thing. So he would say, well, I like this church, but one thing they need to correct here. Or this church is nice here, but these are the things. Majority of the time when you put those 7 churches together, if you do all the do things that it says do, you are under the 7 churches of Christ. Alright? Now, I need you to read the 9th verse.
Revelations chapter 2 verse 9.
Now, he's talking about right here the church that was in Smyrna. Read.
I know thy works and tribulation and
He
poverty.
says, I know the works you're going through. I know the tribulation. The tribulation is the Roman Empire going against us. I know the fact that you are impoverished people, that you're going through poverty. So don't think that because you are in that state, I'm not with you. That's what Yeshua is telling the churches. Read.
But thou art rich.
But you are rich. Why? Because they were rich in spirit. Okay? Money does not define rich. There's many rich people who are not happy.
True.
The majority of rich people are not happy. Read.
And I know the blasphemy
Which is a lie.
of them which say they are Jews.
Of them which what?
Say they are Jews.
Say they are Jews. Read.
And are not.
And are not. Right? But who?
But are the synagogue of Satan.
So Christ was showing us, he was showing us that there will be imposters claiming to be Jews and are not, but really would be representing the temple of Satan. Now the question is, it's not too many people we know that worship in synagogues. That should be an indicator for those that are following Christ. Right? Read.
Verse 10. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer.
Telling them that they will suffer things in the future. What will they suffer?
Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison.
Shall do what?
Shall cast some of you into prison.
Now you have to look at who have financed the prison system
Exactly.
and set up the laws to make prison a for-profit venture.
Yeah.
Who was throwing us in prison in the past? The Roman Empire. The Romans and the Jewish powers are one and the same. I'm going to show y'all something. Read.
That ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death.
That 10 days is a time period of jubilees. It says, but be faithful unto death, which means, listen, take your death, if die righteously. Do not succumb to their spirits and do not bow to their gods. Read.
Be thou faithful unto death. Excuse me. And I will give thee a crown of life. He that have an ear, let him hear. What the Spirit saith unto the churches. He that overcometh shall not be hurt of the second death.
Of the second death. Read.
And to the angel of the church in Pergamos
And
write.
where?
In Pergamos write.
Pergamos. We found out that Pergamos is Asia Minor, which is parts of Europe. Guess what Pergamos is? Pergamos is.
Cyprus.
Huh? No.
No.
Pergamos is like Turkey, around that area.
Alright.
Caesarea is where Pergamos was. And guess who was in Pergamos after the Roman Empire fell?
Idumeans.
Jewish people.
Jews, yeah.
Who converted to Judaism in the 8th to 9th century.
The Jewish people.
The Caesarians who was in Pergamos,
Right.
who were with what? Read.
These things saith he, and to the angel of the church in Pergamos. These things saith he, which have the sharp sword with 2 edges. I know thy works, and where thou dwellest, even where Satan's seat is.
And where whose seat was?
Even where Satan's seat is.
So who was operating with Satan with the Kabbalah sorcery doctrine in Pergamos? The Romans. This is where they got their knowledge to control the world through politics and religion. But people don't look at the old maps and compare them to today. Because they changed the name, the landmass didn't change. Look at the people who was in Pergamos and we can identify who they are and where they got their directives to control the earth. They was not called Jewish people until they converted to Judaism. What were they called before this?
The serpent people.
The serpent people.
Now I understand when you was dealing with that rabbi.
And you know what?
He could come, he could not.
You know what? But the rabbi knew.
Yes. It was smart.
But he was operating in a jocular fashion or a dumb fashion because he understood what he was dealing with. He understood that we had somebody, it was somebody there who could pull everything out on him.
Yes.
So he was just acting that way. But everything, he had to confirm a lot of things. I had to pull some stuff out of him. But these guys could care less about the Torah. They could care less about the laws of the Most High. Okay? Think about it. You can't set up a system in which you promote pornography, war, death, destruction, television, everything, the movies of total immorality. They push everything that's wrong with the earth. You can't be that and say we're the givers of the law too.
No.
They're hiding behind an identity. That's why I said in order for us to say, first of all, let's not even deal with us being the children of Israel. Let's identify who they are first. And then there's a void there. Once we understand that they only are there for political reasons, you understand? Because they don't stake claim to who they are. They'll change their name in a minute for a political reason. The majority of Jewish people in Hollywood today have changed their name.
Yes, that's true.
Okay, so they don't even hold their own heritage there that their fathers gave them. They'll switch their name. Who do that sound familiar to? Who won't even hold the integrity of their fathers and will just give it up for a morsel of meat.
Sounds like Esau.
They'll switch their name in a minute if it means it will hide their identity to get gain or access to something in this earth. So let's not even deal with the children of Israel. Let's just focus on the people who are claiming to be Jews. Read.
I know thy works and where thou dwellest, even where Satan's seat is.
Go ahead.
And thou holdest fast my name, and hast not denied my faith, even in those days wherein Antipas was my faithful martyr,
Now,
who was slain among you.
Now, let's stop for a second. And let's see if we can identify some of the children of Israel real quick. Go to Genesis, the 49th chapter. Read the first verse.
Genesis chapter 49 verse 1. And Jacob called unto his sons and said, Gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days.
So people ask us, how do we know who Jacob is or the Israelites are today? According to prophecies, Jacob got his children together and told them what will be their condition in the last days. So if these people fit these conditions of the Father, they must be the people. If the Jewish people in Israel today fit this, then they must be the people. Another thing I didn't mention. They were called the serpent people. They converted into Judaism between the 8th and the 11th century and became a power. As we fell, they was rising, taking our identity. And when they relocated in 1948, they took Satan's seat with them. So now they're sitting in the temple of God, showing themselves that there is God. They are God. So you're waiting for an antichrist to go sit in Jerusalem, and in 1948 they've been there because these people in Revelation 2 and 9 was against Christ. They left Pergamos, they left Europe, which is Asia Minor, and they went to Jerusalem to set up Satan's seat. And since they have done this, look how much have happened in technology in the earth from the 1950s up until now. It wasn't even 50 years, and look how high in technology we are compared to the 50s. Not even a decade. If you rule from Jerusalem, you rule the world. They understood this. They had to take Satan's seat. And through this, they had to keep an eye on us. Because they're so busy trying to rule the world and take everything now, they have to deal with so many hands, they have to still make sure we are oppressed at the same time. Because they know the prophecy at the very end that these people, the Most High is going to put a spirit, and then these people just wake up and start asking questions. Out of nowhere. So it's not by the will of man that you are waking up. The Most High put a spirit in the earth that would begin to make people look at things, their environment a little different. Yes.
You know what time it is as well, because I was watching on YouTube the other day. They tried to delete the video a couple of times, but there must have been like Israeli sort of protests going on by the general public, sort of like Edomite Israeli people, and they're saying there's too many black immigrants coming into the country, and we have to do something about it. And then they started getting really racist, saying Obama's nothing but a nigger, and that they don't like niggers. Niggers don't need to be around here. This and that. They don't need to be anywhere near this land, because they understand that we're going to wake up and want the land back.
Yeah.
But it was really a point of we don't want niggers around here.
Yeah.
Really big. So.
Hey, it's big time. 90% of the people in Israel jails are us.
Yeah.
90.
90.
9 out of 10.
90% of the people in Israel jails are us. We got a brother who thought that we were in Israel. We ended up guiding him to where we were for a time, and he flew back to New York. He went through Tel Aviv. He says, man, I went through Tel Aviv, and these guys was around me with guns. All the other nations was going right by. Chinese people, nobody was saying nothing. He said, they was around me with guns, asked me, what am I doing here? He said, and they escorted me to the border. And I said, listen, you go here, you take a bus, and meet us in there, and I'm gonna have a brother teach you here. And he went over into Jordan, and then he eventually came over into Egypt for a while. And the Most High says, listen, if it comes a time that I set you up in the land, the earth shall study war no more.
That's right.
That means you're going to turn your weapons into gardening tools. That's Isaiah, the 2nd chapter. So if your weapons are gardening tools, how can you say that you're the people when the real people are set up? There'll be no need for weapons because we're going to have spiritual power. Your little carnal weapons ain't going to do nothing. We can look at you, your bullets will fall. Listen, go up the street somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, it go somewhere. Go dig a hole with that. This is what we're going to be dealing with here. Okay? And see, they show stuff like that with the Matrix.
Yeah. The bullets.
How when Neo came to the full understanding of who he was,
That's right.
he understood that there's power that can give you control over space and time and the laws of physics.
Amazing.
You understand? And these are the things they want us to never understand.
True.
That we are capable of excelling the law of physics. If you are dealing with the spiritual realm, then you are you're controlling the laws of physics. And that's what made Christ look as if he was doing so many miracles.
Yes.
You understood? He understood about the elements and how to control them because you have that power if you're in Christ. So when we get our new bodies and become as he is, because that's what they was really showing you. Then these little weapons are not going to mean nothing. Listen, go up the street, go dig a hole with your AK-47. Go ahead, go somewhere. And the Bible tell you we're going to go 7 years rounding their weapons up. 7 years. Read.
Verse 2.
This is how you know who the children of Israel are. It says, what shall befall thee in the last days? So Jacob will be able to look at these prophecies and know what will befall them in the last days. You will know if you're one of these children if you fit the prophecies of the last days. And this also proves that they cannot be the real people because there's 12 tribes of Israel.
Exactly.
He didn't say, I'm going to show the Jewish people what's going to befall you in the last days. Each tribe has a separate indicator to identify them in the last days. Each tribe. They made everyone believe that the 12 tribes are now just Jewish. Doesn't make any sense.
Mhm.
And look at the small part of Israel they have today, Palestine in the area. If all of Israel was there, they would need that whole landmass and more. That's a small minority over there.
Mm.
So you can't tell me those people, that little number of
Right.
people are the 12 tribes of Israel. Let's see a few of these attributes. Read it.
Gather yourselves together, and hear ye sons of Jacob, and hearken unto Israel your father. Verse 3. Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity, and the excellency of power. Unstable as water, thou shalt not excel.
Unstable as water, and he shall not excel. He's one of the lowest tribes. Why? Read.
Because thou wentest up to thy father's bed.
He slept with his father's woman, Bilhah. So he would have received the firstborn promise, but he didn't because he broke that promise. Read.
Then defilest thou it. He went up to my couch.
Now, read on.
Simeon and Levi.
Before you go there, the firstborn did not excel. That's why they're still operating as nomads in Australia. That's why they haven't excelled. Out of all the brothers, they still operating in the bushes and all that. That's the tribe of Reuben. Okay? Another attribute of them is they have excellency to the point where they don't agree. They will not compromise themselves either. That's why they're the only Indian tribe in Florida, which are the Seminole Indians, that did not sign a peace treaty with the troops that went over into America. So you got a remnant of them in Florida, and you got a remnant of them in Australia. Now listen, I've never been to Australia. I've been to Hawaii, but not Australia. These teachings came out online 2007. A woman, a European woman, called me from over here actually in 2007. It says, it's ironic. She says, I was quite intrigued with your lessons on the 12 tribes. She says, and I know your teachings to be true because I just came back from Australia. She said, and we went and visited some of the people that was out in the bushes, and she said that one of the guys told them that yes, Reuben is our father. We're from Reuben, but we don't know how we got here. Now listen, this is totally disconnected from me. I never been to Australia, but I knew according to the prophecies that they were there, and she confirmed it. She says it's quite. She said, "Have you been?" I've never been to Australia. Okay, never. Read.
Verse 5. Simeon and Levi are brethren.
So what shall befall thee in the last days? Simeon and Levi are brethren. Now we know that all the 12 tribes are brethren. So what do it mean that Simeon and Levi are brethren? That means at the very end, they're going to be together. They're going to be tight. What two of the same family is living on the same island? The Dominicans and the Haitians. They're on the same island. They're divided, but they're on the same island. They're brothers. Read.
Instruments of cruelty are in their habitations.
Voodoo, Santa Maria, and Chango. So the instruments of cruelty is their witchcraft on that island. Y'all see that? Now I'm going to tell you, the Most High did enough to Haiti by taking them down. They were the priests. Levi is Moses, Aaron. So the Most High was not going to allow them to take them down definitively all the way, because a remnant of them going to need to be in a wilderness. So the French, let me tell you, they're the only ones out of all of us that just downright beat the mess out of the European powers who tried to take them down. They totally destroyed France. French came in there. They said, "Listen, just leave them alone. Leave them on the island to die to themselves. Let's not give them anything." But they tried to take them down. They couldn't take them down. Why? Because instruments of cruelty was in their habitations. They used to deal with all that killing chickens and all that. That's the sacrifice they used to do for us in righteousness. But now they do it under voodoo now. We was taking our animals to them for sacrifice to get our sins forgiven. So they still do the same thing. They cut the neck of the chickens. This is what they were doing when they were priests in our suburbs. But now they're doing it under witchcraft now. Now I've sat amongst Levites, and they tell me all types of stuff be going on. He told me what he's seen with his own eyes, what his uncles and people have experienced. I got a brother over there right now who says, man, it's hell over there. And I thank the Most High because I mentioned that he needed a laptop, and someone is offering a laptop out there for him because he needs to show people what's really going on there. And he says, it's hard to believe that we're living in straight poverty, but yet our people still have a spirit with them.
There's a process going on.
Yeah, they got a spirit with them. Let me tell you, it's straight genocide over there. They let a disease loose over there, all that. And see, none of this is being publicized because everything else is on the news. Haiti is worse than it was before, but you will never know it. Read.
Verse 6. O my soul, come not into their secret.
Don't come into their secret. That means don't go to them for their witchcraft. That's their secret. Now, read.
Unto their assembly, my honor, be not thou united. For in their anger they slew a man, and in their self-will they dig down a wall. Cursed be their angers, for it was fierce, and their wrath, for it was cruel. I will divide them in Jacob, and scatter them in Israel. Judah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise.
Read it again.
Judah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise.
Now we know Judah is the so-called Negro in America. How do we know this? First of all, we praise Judah because Christ came through Judah. That's number one. But number two, everything Judah do in America, the whole world follows. They hang their pants down, everybody else hanging their pants down. They put their hats on and start rapping, everybody else start put their... And when Judah rise up, all the other tribes rise up. That's why they started pacifying us through civil rights. Everyone is watching Judah. Read.
Thy hand shall be in the neck of thine enemies.
That lets you know exactly where Judah will be. He will be right next to the superpower. So our enemies kept us close. So when they went to the shores, they made sure Judah came directly into America, because they know when Judah start rising up, that's a barometer that lets them know how much time they have. So what did they do? They took Judah and put them close and tell you Judah will be at the neck of their enemies. So you have to look where the superpower is. That's where Judah is. Read.
Thy father's children shall bow down before thee. Judah is a lion's whelp.
That means Judah is a lion's cub. That's where they get the Lion King from. You notice the Lion King? You seen that cartoon?
Yeah.
How the wicked and evil lion end up killing the father,
Yeah.
and the cub was so young, it didn't understand that it was supposed to have dominion. So what did he do? He put the cub amongst the hyenas, which are the other nations, who taught him different and made him passive, separated him from his throne, while the wicked ruler ruled. And while the wicked ruler ruled, the whole earth started becoming dim, dark, destroyed, until Judah stood up and had courage
Yes.
and realized that his uncle, or the one that took the throne, did not supposed to have it. And he fought for the throne and took down his evil, which you really, his father, and the evil lion was like Jacob and Esau.
Yes.
And he stepped on his father's hand, who had honor, and he died. And then next thing you know, you had an evil ruler, and the hyenas were the nations. And here it is, you had Judah, the little cub, wandering in the wilderness, out there in darkness, and had no idea who he was. Until he found at the very end and stood as king. That's why it says Judah is a lion whelp. All these movies and all these cartoons, all these legends, they get it from the Bible. So there's a little cub running around and don't know that he's supposed to be king. Read.
Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, thou art gone up.
And it says, from the prey thy son thou hast gone up. Because it was a time that Judah, like a lion, if there was some weak prey, we would jump on it. Here it is now, and you're the majority, and they made you believe that you was the minority, and you don't even go against the prey anymore. What type of lion are you? You don't stand up no more. You don't rise up. You don't fight no more. Where's your fight? That's what it's saying here. Read.
He stooped down, he crouched as a lion, and as an old lion, who shall rouse him up?
The Most High is rousing them up now. The Most High, and guess what? Poverty and tribulation. When this hell hit, you're going to see Judah cutting loose in America. Okay? Hey, let me tell you, we're going to go down, but we're not going to go down without a fight. Read.
The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh come.
Shiloh is the peaceable one, talking about Christ, that he would come out of Judah. Read.
And unto him shall the gathering of the people be.
See, and that's why I'm saying, people say, well, why can't all of us Israelites come together? We will never come together. The gathering is going to be unto Christ. Christ is going to gather everyone together. If we started gathering everyone together and say gather to us, we would take Christ's job. So all of you are wondering, well, why Israelites can't come together? Because that's Christ's job to gather. That's why we call it the gathered of Christ church. He gathered the elect to the elect. Right? Read.
Verse 11. Binding his foal unto the vine, and his ass's coat unto the choice vine. He washed his garments in wine, and his clothes in the blood of grapes.
I tell you in Isaiah the 63rd chapter that when he come back, he's coming back with total destruction. And he's coming back to bathe his garments with the blood of the Idumeans. That's the future prophecy. That's why they have everyone alarmed about this thing coming from out of the sky. They must protect themselves from what's coming out of the sky. Is it an asteroid, Planet X, or any other thing? But they know it's Christ coming back. Okay? Planet X. Okay. Read.
Verse 12. His eyes shall be red with wine.
Go down to the next brother. Make it quick so we can get
Verse
through it.
13. Zebulun shall dwell at the haven of the sea.
Now here's another future prophecy. How we know who Zebulun is. Zebulun is the Panamanians. That's the only landmass that connects both oceans. They're at the haven of the sea. And what do they have? The Panama Canal. Boom. It's not the Jewish people. That's Zebulun. So we would know that they would be at the haven of the sea. Panama Canal connects both sides of the oceans. You can trade on either side of the equator. Read.
He shall be in haven. He shall be for an haven of ships.
And that's why Panama is such a rich port. Because it saves travel for either side with ships. Read.
Jump down to Issachar.
Let's go to Issachar.
Verse 14. Issachar is a strong ass crouching between two burdens.
And crouching between two burdens. Those are two asses, or two what you would call colts. Two little donkeys. And if you ever see in the United States south of the border, you see a guy with a hat on sitting between two donkeys. That's one of the emblems or symbols of Mexicans. Read.
Verse 15. And he saw that rest was good.
That rest is what they would call siesta. Fiesta, they call it. During the noontime. They have a place for rest at 12 noon. This is Issachar. This is in the scriptures years before they did this. Read.
And the land that it was pleasant, and bowed his shoulder to bear.
And they have great land. The brother said, man, there's fruit there. He eat fruit every day that he never heard about. Every day. The land is pleasant, and what else?
And he bowed his shoulder to bear, and became a servant unto tribute.
He became a servant unto tribute. That's why they work, and they work hard for almost nothing. That's Issachar. Mexicans. Read.
Verse 16. Dan shall
And when
be,
it says bow thyself to tribute, On another level, now that I understand what's going on there, that's also breaking down the drug cartels. How they shaking everybody down for money. They shake down their own people for money. They have to pay tribute to the drug cartels. That's a whole nother level. Read.
Verse 16. Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel.
When it says shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel, it happened when after the northern kingdom fell, Dan set himself up as priest. He also linked up with Esau and have a Herodian connection. So Dan hooked up with Esau and started judging God's people. Read.
Verse 17. Dan shall be a serpent by the way.
He shall be a serpent by the way, to let you know he would be dealing with the serpent's people.
Samson from the tribe of Dan. Yeah.
Yeah. Samson originally was from the tribe of Dan. Absolutely. Read.
An adder in the path that biteth the horse's heels, so that his rider shall fall backwards.
So he was put in the way to destroy us. He was a serpent that would destroy us. He linked in with Esau and became an enemy of Israel. Read.
I have waited for thy salvation, O Lord.
Let's go to the next one.
Gad.
Gad.
A troop shall overcome him.
A troop. The troop is a U.S. cavalry that overtook the North American Indians in North America. Read.
But he shall overcome at the last.
Go ahead.
Out of Asher his bread shall be fat.
Asher is what you would call the so-called Colombians, all the way through Venezuela, who America is going to try to war with next. Y'all can record this and actually understand what date this is. They're going to go against Chavez very soon, all the way down into Brazil. Read.
And he shall yield royal dainties.
Go ahead.
Naphtali is a hind.
And it also tell you in Deuteronomy 33, when you link the precepts to this, that Asher dipped his feet in oil. That's how we know who they are. They're the oil-rich countries of South America. That's why Venezuela and Chavez have an independent currency that's not attached to the Western world banks. And they're giving Iran areas for a missile system that will be pointed to America. That's what's going on right now, as we speak. Read.
Verse 21. Naphtali is a hind let loose.
Naphtali is a hind let loose. Go ahead.
He giveth goodly words.
He give goodly words, and I've been there, Hawaii. They dance, that's why it says a hind let loose, they're free, and they give goodly words. When you land, they put a layer around your neck and say, aloha. They greet you no sooner as you land. That's the people in the South Pacific. They tell you in Deuteronomy 33 that they will possess the South and the West. But when you look at the Hebrew, it says the South and the seas. Well, the South Seas, the South Pacific, is the Fiji Islands, the place where Hawaii, Samoa, all of them are Naphtali. And they still speak a dialect of Hebrew. See, they didn't think we would figure all this out. But the history is in our burial grounds. It's just our people just can't piece it together. When they went over into America, they found Hebrew in the burial grounds. They knew who we were. When we went to West Africa, they seen our rituals and all that. Separating ourselves, circumcising our children, doing all the things. When a woman was on a monthly, whatever the case is, she would be separated for a week and be treated for a week. Then she would come back into the house. All that. When I say treated, that means she was pampered for a week during that time and didn't have no housework or nothing. She had to connect to the Most High. Then she would come back. Her house is clean. She's able to operate. All that was in Scripture. They seen us operate like that when they got us off the shores. Believe it or not, we've become less civilized. They claim that they have civilized us, but we've become less civilized since the time that we've been taken off the shores. Read.
Joseph is a fruitful bow.
Joseph represents Ephraim now, to show you that they are fruitful. And Puerto Rico is a very fruitful place. That's Ephraim. Okay? And they have children. A lot of them. Read.
Even a fruitful bow by a well. whose branches run over the wall.
And their branches run over the wall. Read.
The archers have sorely grieved him.
And the archers grieved him. Who are these archers? The archers were the conquistadors, the Spaniards who came over there and killed the Puerto Ricans down to 500,000 man job. Killed the whole. People want to forget about this. This didn't happen that too long ago. We talking about the 1800s here. We act as if we didn't get taken down by straight war. Every place we ever look at, all the places Esau went to take down, they the children of Israel.
Exactly.
The Lord says, I will bring a nation against you as swift as the eagle flieth. The eagle represents Esau. So any place they take down, they aim towards God's people. Common sense. They tell you Revelations 12 that they would actually go after the woman who ran into the wilderness. So they're looking to attack us and set up over our land, because they figure all the rich land the Lord gave us was their promise that we stole and we got unjustly. So 9 times out of 10, just follow the money, follow the people who are controlling things, and you can find Israel. Any person they taking down, afflicting, throwing in prison, taking down and taking their land, you can look up some research on them. They the children of Israel. It's that easy. Read.
Jump down to Benjamin.
Let's go down to Benjamin.
Verse 27. Benjamin shall raven as a wolf.
Raven is a wolf. That's howling or singing. That's also let you know that how they can devour too, like the Maroons did. It's going to show you this. Read.
In the morning he shall devour the prey, and at night he shall divide the spoil.
And the Maroons did this during slave time. They took a ship, they took all the gold, and they divided the money amongst themselves. That was prophecy. The Maroons. Who are these? The West Indians and the Jamaicans. And it says raven like a wolf. It tell you that they're singing. They howl, and they howl and bring the other wolves together. That's their singing. Like Bob Marley, and how they sing about Zion, sing about what they say, Jah or Yah, when they be singing. And they're ravening like a wolf. They howl, and it brings the children of Israel together. Now, where the Jewish people at in all this?
Not singing.
Read. Okay, I just wanted to go over that.
Is that all 12?
It's all 12. Well, we got Manasseh too, but Joseph is included. Manasseh was Ephraim's little brother, which are the Cubans.
Why are we talking about these tribes? I just want to clear something up, because I don't know if I've misunderstood. I know the kingdom was divided into two, so we had the northern tribes, Judah, Benjamin and Levi. But then I hear people saying, and then the other 10 tribes. Well, that's 13.
That's 13. What you have to realize, Levi did not get a lot of land because they had to originally go into the suburbs and do the priesthood for each landmass. So they had to be scattered amongst each suburb. You understand? So that's how that happened. So there was no landmass for Levi. At that time, he was not considered a tribe. He was the priesthood, a representation of the Most High. It tell you in Malachi, the 2nd chapter, is when he fell as a priest. And that's when they became a tribe. And when Dan went against the Most High and set up his priesthood after Ashtoreth and Moloch, and it eventually set up with the Idumeans and taught them witchcraft, and went against us to try to kill Christ, the Most High cut them off. So now Levi became a tribe, and Dan will be judged with Idumea. You got that?
Down to 12.
We're back to the 12, and that's why Dan is not mentioned in Revelation, the 7th chapter.
Because they've been cut out.
Exactly. You got that?
Yeah,
Okay. So that's where we are. The Moors were nothing but they were just, Moors means black. They were Jews of Spain. They were Judah. Moors only means black. They were black Jews who were converted to Islam.